From Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the confines of Memorial Stadium here in Bloomington, as the Indiana Hoosiers are getting ready to take on a top 10 matchup with the Cincinnati Bearcats, the biggest non-conference game in nearly 40 years for the Hoosiers. As Cincinnati comes in, we're not when this game was scheduled, I assure you that no one expected this game to carry the magnitude that it will be carrying this Saturday, but it does. As Indiana 1-1 on the season, now looking to knock off a top 10 non-conference opponent as they welcome them in. First time since 1981 when number 2 USC came to visit that the Hoosiers will do that. But a lot of things to go over, as last week Indiana knocked off Idaho handily, 56-14. The story of that game, obviously, was the defense and special teams. We'll talk about both of them, and I think that that's what Cincinnati is going to have a bigger concern with Indiana than their offense. But the offense, of course, is something Indiana has to get moving. Offensive line has got to make improvements. They gave up a couple of sacks on a sequence against Idaho. They did open up the running game a bit. Stephen Carr looked really good getting that game, busting those holes, hitting some seams. He had a couple of runs for 26 yards, getting out in space. Great to see that. Got to get Michael Penix settled down a little bit, a little more. No deep passes from him yet. Got to get him going deep. We did see Jack Tuttle hit a 76-yard touchdown pass later in the game. But Michael Penix is the key to this offense, or actually the offensive line. They've got to give him time, and he's got to hit the marks. He's not been quite on. He's been off. Other than the mid-range throws, he's been good on. But deeper than that, the high 25-yard outs, a little tougher for him thus far. So they're trying to get him settled down. We got to listen to Tom Allen today, Nick Sheridan, Charlton Warren as well, all the coordinators. We spoke to Casey Teagarden, Michael Penix. Marcelino McCreary-Ball was here as well. So we got to speak to a lot of different guys today. You're going to hear from Coach Allen here in a second, as well as Nick Sheridan and Charlton Warren, the defensive coordinator. He's got a lot to be proud of. They did a great job last week, as Casey Teagarden does with that special teams group. The first time since 1969 that Indiana scores twice on special teams. Big job for them. They've got to continue and carry that on and keep that going forward. But a lot of other things have to come around first, as we talked about the offense. That's where it all stops and starts for this Indiana team right now. They've got to get going. Of course, the defense is doing a great job, but you've got to put points on the board. Most of the points from Saturday came from the special teams and the defensive side. Getting the ball back. They did have 2 takeaways, no interceptions yet. So that's something they're going to be working on as well. But in talking to Tom Allen, the first thing he talked about was the crowd. The students were absolutely phenomenal. They filled that student section as big as I've ever seen it since I've been coming here, and they did it early. Next week's game is going to be special because it's already sold out. Normally when games sell out, we find out at the time when it happens with walk-ups. This game is a sellout a week, 2 weeks in advance. So that's going to mean it is going to be an electric environment. You know those students are going to be here then. And it is going to be loud and raucous in here. But Indiana is going to need every bit of that because this is a Cincinnati team that is very, very good. They're talented, and they're veterans. They have veterans on the line. Coach Tom Allen talked about what it's going to take to beat Cincinnati and everything that he needs, talking from the students forward. Let's hear what Coach Allen had to say at today's presser.
Another big thank you to our fans for their support on Saturday, especially our student section. Really awesome with energy and as I mentioned before, just want to read it again, just from start to finish before the game, and just appreciate that. It makes a big difference. And awesome to be home and a packed stadium for the first time in a long time. And so just a great great atmosphere that the fans created for us. So really appreciate that, and obviously need that again this week. So thought our performance was very solid. Special teams really stuck out. Saw in person and go back and watch the film. Was really proud of Coach Teagarden and the job he's done there. Ryan McInerney, he's a former control guy, and did a tremendous job working together. Came up with a great game plan, and you guys executed. So great explosive plays in that area of the game is really important for us moving forward. And set up our offense and defensively tackle well. Yay Force. Now we turn our full attention to Cincinnati, and just really impressed with their football team. I had a chance in the last couple of days watching them, and really they've done a tremendous job there. Both recruiting, last couple of seasons, a lot of football games, and very, very talented quarterback. There's a lot of speed and skill guys across the board in the backfield, and big men up front, defensively very, very disciplined, very sound.
That was Coach Tom Allen talking about the upcoming game with Cincinnati. Luke Fickell, the coach of the Bearcats, someone that Coach admitted that he doesn't really know that well. He said, I've shook his hand a couple times, but I've never sat down and talked ball with him. So, but he has nothing but respect for Coach Fickell and what he has done at Cincinnati. They have had a great run there. Don Fisher was on the show this morning and talked about Cincinnati has won like 9, 10, 11, and 11 games in a row. So they've had a great run, and you don't do that by not playing great ball to begin with, being fundamentally sound, not making mistakes to kill you. And that's what Indiana's going to have to do. They did a lot better job of that this week, not making mistakes, a lot less penalties. So that was huge. They got a lot of that cleaned up, and they're going to need to remain that way as the season goes forward, especially on the offensive side. In Iowa, they had a lot of issues, penalties, and all kinds of things. Seem to have gotten that straightened out. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult this week with a much more difficult opponent in Cincinnati coming in. But we'll see if they can continue. Saw Carpenter come in at center and do a pretty daggone good job as he came in off the bench there. And Stephen Carr, like I said earlier, the running game has gotten going. But now they've got to get Michael Penix in more of a rhythm. Get Michael Penix more involved in the offense as far as being able to do more things than just stand back there and hit a medium pass. He's got to be able to be a deep threat, or that's what Michael Penix was known for last year. That's why he was feared last year. The receivers, I'm not sure if what's going on there, but we just haven't had a lot deep attempts yet. Part of that is the line. You got to have the time to do that. But Ty Fryfogel's been the only one that's really been targeted deep much. But we'll see if that changes. Nick Sheridan today talked about getting Michael settled down, getting him into the rhythm, and they have to do that very quick. But let's hear what the offensive coordinator, Nick Sheridan, had to say.
I thought we ran the ball earlier in the game through some easier completions, just created a little bit of rhythm for Michael. And yet there were still areas that we could be better in, relative to throwing and catching. So I thought there was a step in the right direction. I thought Mike played with more confidence. I thought he was more comfortable out there. But the game kind of, as you guys know, the first drive, I think we went however many yards down the field and scored. It was a longer, more methodical drive. We didn't really create a ton of chunk plays in that drive. I think we had a big run on the second play of the game, but other than that, it was, executing, converting a fourth down. After that, we had an interception, so we had the ball on a 10-yard line, 15-yard line. Mike threw the fade for a touchdown, and then we had a block kick. So, we got off to a good start as a team. Certainly special teams and defense had a large part to do with that. But I thought Michael made steps in the right direction. I thought he played with more confidence, completed the ball at a higher rate. But still a lot of work to be done.
Hey, welcome back to Memorial Stadium here. I'm getting a little different position as the guy blowing off the stands was getting a little that offense. John, did you go to say something?
No, so on my end, you cut out for a second, so I wasn't sure what was going on, but you're back now, so it's all good.
Great. Yeah, welcome back. But Nick Sheldon talking about what Michael, they need, like you said, they have to get him into a rhythm. He has just not been there yet, but he's improved and he showed improvements. I know a lot of fans and some of us expected him to be a little bit further along, but you can't put yourself in his mindset with what he's had to go through three season-ending injuries. I cannot imagine what that does to you mentally when you play the position of quarterback, the most important position on that team. Maybe one of the most important positions in all of sports because you have to do so much all of the time. But Indiana continues to improve. Man, the defense made leaps and bounds, like we said. That is going to be problematic for Cincinnati. But Indiana's got to take the ball away more. They've got to get some interceptions. They've got to slow down Cincinnati's offensive attack. Tywan Mullen talked about that. We'll hear from him later. But Tywan Mullen said you have to focus on doing your job and not worry about doing somebody else's, but doing your job. Charlton Warren, the defensive coordinator, spoke today as well, and he's familiar with this defense. I believe that he may have coached against them in the bowl game last year. Did they play Georgia in the bowl game, I think? But being at Georgia, I think he's got some experience against Cincinnati. He's a little familiarity. But here's what defensive coordinator Charlton Warren had to say.
I think when guys recover, they don't get it. I think our guys have done a great job of being in position on balls. Now we've missed probably in the last week, probably missed 3 takeaway opportunities, but taking the ball there. Josh missed one the other night and went right through his hands. So I think it's a product of how we're playing a little bit right now. The teams we've played, the run emphasis that an odd team like Iowa put on. But at the same time, it's something we're always stressing. We got to do better to get more of them. Those are game-changing plays that help set up our offense to make plays, and we got to do a better job of taking it out there.
Of course, Charlton Warren, defensive coordinator Charlton Warren, there talking about the takeaways, and they've got to take more advantage of those. Indiana made their bones on that last year. Program record with interceptions, 20 takeaways, led the Big Ten in both of those categories. They had 2 takeaways at Iowa and a couple more this past week, but no interceptions yet. And so, but they haven't faced a lot of passing, to be honest with you. Iowa didn't throw the ball that much; they didn't have to, but they were a little shaky in the secondary in that game. But in this game, again, they didn't get a lot of chance to throw the ball because Indiana's defense was all over them. But a great performance by the Hoosiers this week. Of course, it was against an Idaho team that is not nearly as strong as the Cincinnati program they will face this week. As I said, Indiana welcomes in the highest ranked non-conference opponent in 40 years. So this is going to be an outstanding game. It's sold out. If you have your tickets, congratulations. It's going to be a barn burner and it's going to be fun. What an environment it's going to be. I'm looking so forward to it. Make sure you tune in tomorrow on Indiana Sports Beat Radio as we continue to bring you everything that information-wise and keep you updated on everything going on. Tomorrow on the show, of course, Mike DeCourcy, Kevin Brockway, along with Chronic Hoosier each Tuesday, so you can make sure you catch us there. And make sure you go visit our friends at Southern Stone Restaurant. That's who brings you this program each and every day. We're glad to be a part of their family. That's the side of the coaches shows, by the way. Each Wednesday night right now, 7:05, the Tom Allen Show with Don Fisher is there. And then, of course, that'll be followed by the Mike Woodson Show, as that season gets started. But go visit our friends at Southern Stone Restaurant. It's at Rogers and Patterson in Bloomington. Great food, great place. Make sure you check it out. Hey, thanks for checking in with us today, and we'll be back tomorrow morning with Indiana Sports Beat Radio with a complete wrap-up of everything that went on today, as with the press conferences and whatever else has gone on along the way. Until then, thanks to John, the producer. Thanks to you, and I'm Jim Coyle. I will